Hey everyone, welcome back to the Intelligent Conversations podcast. Today I have the honor to learn from Andre Lafond. Andre is a racing driver, and Andre takes an analytical approach to his racing, making him a fierce competitor. He has overcome the challenges of ADHD and developed characteristics of self-control, discipline, and focus. So, Andre, thank you for coming on today. I appreciate you taking the time to come on, but I'm going to open up with this question. I did a little bit of research, and it seemed that you kind of loved racing from a young age. I'm kind of interested, though, what kind of started that spark to be interested in racing and all of that?
Well, first off, thank you for having me on the show, Josh. It's a pleasure to be part of it. And to answer your question, I was always really interested in racing from a young age. I can't really remember when it started. It's just always something I wanted to do. Remember one point my dad or my parents bought me a little electric go-kart that I could drive around in the backyard. And that was pretty fun, but it got to the point where I got a little bored and because it wasn't quite fast enough. I may have rolled it a couple times, but we don't talk about that. And
wow.
Then went to one Friday after school. My dad took me to an indoor electric go-kart place, and I loved that from the get-go, and I was pretty confident and competent right off the bat. So at that point, it's kind of started the ball rolling as to, okay, where can we go with this?
And then here you are. So kind of overview. So then now you're racing professionally. How did that kind of happen? Like you kind of jumped into that.
So a bit of chance and a bit of luck and a lot of what felt like hitting our heads against a brick wall for a month or two. But I raced karts competitively at the regional and national level a few times. And then we were looking to transition to cars to actually start the career. And we talked to a team based in the southern US, did a test with them. That went really well. They wanted me to race with them, but unfortunately that kind of fell through. Just a couple background things. Someone else kind of swooped in and bought the available spot on the team before we could get everything in order. Mm-hmm. But it was unfortunate, but then that team boss recommended me to a different team that was based in the UK. So it was a bit of a process to get there, to say the least, but eventually, moved to the UK for a little over a year and a half and raced over there in the national pro categories.
That's crazy. So you've won a couple races too, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. What's that feeling like to after all that hard work and then finally just to be on top and be like, I did this?
Oh, it feels good. It's a really good feeling. It just kind of feels like in that moment the best way I can describe it is like you're a complete person in that moment. Like there's nothing extra in your head. Like, oh, what about this? What about that? You're just kind of enjoying that moment. But you're still looking back on it and analyzing like, okay, what could I have done better? Should I change this, change that? And then just seeing the team, like the big team of people, the mechanics who've worked very hard to help you get to that point, seeing them all, them smiling is a pretty special feeling.
And that and that's something I didn't know when I was kind of learning about kind of all the moving parts when it comes to racing was it's a team sport. Like there's I thought it was usually just a driver, and I mean I've watched a few, I guess you could say, like NASCAR and stuff, and you have the pit crew and stuff, nice. But most of the time the attention just isn't there. So how do you kind of go about building? Do you yourself build the team, or how does that kind of work?
So ordinarily the team is already established and you as a driver join the team.
Gotcha.
Because, I mean, if I had to do all that myself, my head would explode. It's so many people in so many different areas. And more often than not, though, you end up being part of a group with some pretty cool people.
That's cool. That's really cool. So you kind of alluded to the challenges that you experienced. So, I mean, I also did that in the introduction. So how did you kind of overcome them, and I guess kind of to start, like, what were some of those challenges to begin with, and then how did you overcome them, and now you're winning races and competitions?
In terms of, I hate to answer a question with a question, but in terms of racing or kind of general life?
Well, both works. So, I mean, we can kind of focus on racing. So, I mean, you said it was a beast for like 2 months to kind of like hitting your head against the wall. So
Yeah.
some of those challenges, and then I kind of also alluded to where you had like ADHD, but then you kind of stopped and you developed some of the things that people would be like, whoa, I thought that was impossible. How did you kind of do that?
I'd say we could start with the ADHD and stuff first. Then when I was, honestly, most of my childhood, I don't have a great memory of. And it was unfortunate, but at that time, ADHD wasn't super well known. It was just kind of a blanket diagnosis in some ways, but then and now, I mean, I couldn't sit still. Like, I had to be active. I had to be doing something.
Yeah.
And at that point, the perceived solution was just like, oh, medication, which was not an enjoyable part of my life, which is probably part of the reason why I don't have a great recollection of what happened then. But then my parents were like, this very clearly isn't working. What if we have to try something else? And they figured out just like, just let's let him be for a little bit, stop the medication, try and find people who are a bit more knowledgeable about this, and stop trying to make him like sit still, like let him go out, explore, do stuff, which ended up working really well. I started taking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and then just got into mountain biking shortly after and racing as well. And just having outlets for all of that, I feel really helped mentally and physically. And now I'm just kind of doesn't feel anything out of the ordinary. I mean, racing to me feels much more normal than walking does, as crazy as that may sound. It's like, I would say comfortable, because you're never comfortable racing, but you're like, that feels normal. That feels like where I'm supposed to be. Whereas walking around doesn't feel quite there.
It's too slow or something like that.
Yeah, not quite up to pace.
Man. So I'm just a little side note here. I'm kind of curious. What's the fastest speed you've ever been? Or I guess, let me rephrase that. What's the fastest speed your body has moved through Earth, like, at one point in time?
I would probably be on a plane.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, planes are pretty fast.
But,
I guess in a car.
Yeah, in a car, the cars I've driven up to this point were like junior single-seaters, so not crazy top-end speed, probably around like 140-ish.
Wow. That's still fast. That's not your average highway speed, I'll tell you that.
No. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
But, I bet. And those are like sharp turns too, right?
Yeah, some of them are pretty sharp, like you're all the way down in first gear. It's like trying to get around the corner and then go.
Wow. Okay, sorry. You can finish. What were you going to say there?
But in terms of racing, some of the obstacles were, like, a lot of people in motorsports are from either very wealthy families or people who have families with like motorsport backgrounds, and sometimes both. But we don't really have either. So it's certainly not impossible. It just makes it much more difficult. Mm-hmm. And when we got referred to the team in the UK, we needed to get an international competition license. which we didn't know how to do that. We were just kind of like, all right, we've got a couple months to find a place to live over there, get a license, and start testing in the car I've never even driven. So it was a bit of a learning curve, to say the least. And we ended up, to qualify for the license, we need to do 5 sanctioned races. So the best way to do that was to go and race a class called Spec Miata, which is basically just a Mazda Miata, Mazda MX-5, but converted to a race car. And it normally gets fairly big crowd, like upwards of 20 cars per weekend at least. And the first weekend I got there, and it was also last minute, like we figured it out a week or two before and then just went straight there. And I was talking to the team boss, and this is the day before testing, before the national weekend. He's like, all right, have you been to this track before? No. Have you driven this car before? No. Have you raced cars before? No. You've done karting though, right? Yeah, I've done karting. Okay, cool. Have you driven stick before? No.
What?
So it's like, all right, just go around, row through the gears in the pit lane, I guess, and get a feel for it that way. So I did that. Then he's like, all right, yeah, you're a natural. You'll be ready for testing tomorrow. So I basically learned stick on a racetrack and like national race testing, which was it was a little crazy, but it wasn't too bad. And then got through the races relatively okay. Picked up a few spots, finished in the top 20, which was better than they expected me to do. So that was nice.
Yeah.
But was just there to like finish the race, get my signatures for my license, and that's it. Like, don't, they're not throwing fresh tires in the car. Don't worry about fighting people. Just finish the race. That was my job. And actually, pretty funny story on that. The car I was driving was orange and white and kind of had like a clownfish stripes on it almost. So the car got named Nemo. And in an incident on the track, a piece of debris came up and like hit one of the mirrors and knocked the mirror off. So they put a replacement mirror on it that was a different color. So kind of like, Nemo's different fin. It was like that. And I'm like, hey, that's pretty funny.
That is funny. Wow.
Then our second weekend to get the license, we went to Texas, and the airport was basically out of rental cars almost completely. So we were about 5 minutes away from calling a U-Haul van that we could get as transportation for the weekend. But the team boss was a really cool guy, and he's like, hey, I have a truck you can borrow for transportation. I'm like, all right, cool. Whew, that solves that.
That's nuts, man. That is nuts.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, no way. No way.
So when we finally get to the UK, which was a little easier than expected, thankfully, because the team boss's wife had done a whole bunch of the logistic work for us and found a place for me and my 2 teammates to stay for the season. So we had a place to live. There was a grocery store nearby. We had food, so that was pretty easy. But I get there, all-nighter flight, get there in the morning after a pretty delayed flight, which was unfortunate, but land in the UK at around 8, 9 a.m., drive to the shop, throw my gear on, do a seat fit, because in single-seaters, the seats are actually molded around you.
That's cool.
Because without the seat, you're basically just sitting on the bare floor of the car. And you sit in the seat, and you sit on this bag, which gets filled with expanding foam. So it gets molded to you so you're nice and snug in there. So did that and then went to the runway to learn how to drive the car. And then a day or two later, we go to the track and it is pouring rain. What? Like absolutely a downpour. And the team boss is like, you know what, Andre, we know it's your first day. We know you haven't driven this. Just don't put the car on the wall. That's all we want for today. And then going out, and in an open wheel car, like there's no windshield. All you have is the visor and your helmet. So if there's a car in front of you in the rain and they're kicking up water, you can't see anything. That's why they have the rain lights on the back. So I really couldn't see a whole lot. And then had a second day of testing there, which was dry, thankfully. And then my third day in the car.
You didn't put the car into the wall?
No, I did not.
Okay, that's good.
I was a good boy. I kept the car clean. But then the third day in the car, we drove up to Scotland for the second British national round. So that was my third day in the car. And it was pretty hectic to say the least.
Dude. What? That's a fascinating story. So what's still blowing my mind is you didn't even know how to drive some of these cars. And you're just like, all right, let's just throw me in. Let's figure it out. And
yeah,
that blows me away, especially with stick shift. So I actually know how to drive stick. And
nice.
Yeah. Well, the first day I did it, I kept stalling out. Like when I learned how, and it's like, dude, and you just threw yourself in a race, and how did that even work, man?
I mean, I didn't really have the luxury of like deciding yes or no. It was just kind of like, all right, I have to do this. Like it was just part of the process. But I also feel like I'm more naturally inclined for it, so I was able to figure it out more easily. I will say though, when I first drove stick, I did make a couple mistakes. I missed a couple of gears. I only stalled once, but I did miss a gear or two, which was unfortunate. But the Formula cars that I transferred into, because they're purpose-built race cars, it's fairly intuitive how everything works. Mm-hmm. So that helped out for sure. That's
nice. It's right where you need them and everything like that. And man, maybe I should get myself one of those. No, I'm kidding. Probably would hurt someone. That is, man, there's a lot of prongs I could take this. So you just kind of threw yourself into the deep end essentially and just said, you know what? I mean, how do you kind of, so, I mean, I'm going to kind of transition maybe to more life advice here, but there's some people, I mean, they kind of lose, I guess you could say, that hope. And it's like, how do you still, when you're like, don't really know what's going to happen, how do you know if things are going to kind of turn out well? This kind of thing.
I mean, you never know if something's going to turn out well. Like, especially if you're dreaming big and you're really going for something, you never have a concrete guarantee. But you always need to keep the hope that it can and will happen. And just in the moment where everything's kind of going crazy, you have to keep calm and think, you know what? It might be crazy, but regardless of what happens, I have to make this work because that's what I need to do to get where I want to be.
Exactly. I love that. I love that you especially say that you need to remain calm because oftentimes with all the chaos, all the noise, especially you probably developed that racing. You have to be calm because if you start panicking at any moment, things can get ugly very quickly. And I think that's a great piece of advice. And where would you say you kind of developed that calmness? Would it be racing? But I know jiu-jitsu as well also kind of teaches that as well. Is it kind of a combination of them? How?
I'd say it's definitely a combination. Like, I didn't start racing until relatively late, until 2018 when I was 15 years old. But a lot of people I've been competing against have been racing since they were 8, 9, 10.
Wow.
But I feel like jiu-jitsu helped me a lot with that because
So when did you start jiu-jitsu?
I think it was maybe 8 to 10 at the time.
So
I'm
you
not
did that
too
for
sure.
a while.
Yeah, I did that for around 7 years.
Gotcha.
And yeah, it's a lot like almost a physical version of chess. Like you can't be too calm because then you're just not aggressive enough, but you have to force your opponent to make a mistake and then capitalize on it. So if you're not calm, you're a bit too worked up, it really doesn't do you any favors. Likewise in racing.
Exactly. Man, I like how you added you need a little bit of like aggressiveness or that edge or that chip on your shoulder, because
Yeah.
I think there's nothing wrong with wanting to win. like,
No.
and in order to win, the number one thing they tell, so I did, kind of for reference, I did some sports just growing up. I did soccer, basketball,
Nice.
track, all that. And the number one thing coaches would teach you when you were younger is just be aggressive. Like, especially when it comes to soccer, let's say. When it comes to that, it's fit when there's a 50-50 ball, even basketball, when there's a loose ball, it's whoever's willing to dive on the court or who's willing to, sacrifice, make a tough call in the moment and then make the play. And it's the same thing with racing. I do wonder, do you guys get like, because it is a sport. I mean, you guys are drenched in sweat like when you get out of this car. So just kind of for reference, how can you kind of like simulate? Because some people probably view that as like not a sport type of thing. Like, oh, they're just driving cars. Can you kind of simulate like for them, hey, this is like legitimately a sport type of thing?
So a lot of what makes racing physical is G-force. Like say if you've been on one of I'm not sure what they're called. I think it's like a Gravitron ride at a theme park.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like you're up against a wall and it spins around really fast.
Yeah.
That's what like a higher G load feels like. And when you're in a car, it varies how much it is, but you're always having to resist the G load that's like it's pushing you forward, it's pushing you to the side. So you need to have a pretty strong core to be able to hold yourself in a stable position. Your core and your neck mainly. Because especially, at high speeds when you're racing, all racers, they don't look ahead of them. They look where they're going. Like they turn their head and look through the corners. And if your neck is tired, you're not able to do that. And then you're just not competitive anymore.
Wow.
And none of the race cars, except for F1 and a couple others, have power steering. So it's a lot heavier than a traditional car.
Huh.
So you're turning the wheel more with your arms and shoulders and your back as well. And, anyone who's driven a car for like 2+ hours, you can probably feel a little tired just after that because of the mental fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
You're making a lot of split-second decisions. You're constantly thinking ahead. At least I hope you are. But
well, some drivers probably not.
yeah, I mean, I live in Jersey. Some people definitely don't.
Yeah,
but
I'm into that.
You need to be sharp for that whole race. Like if you watch at the end of a race, you can see some people making a lot of up places, making up ground, some people dropping back. And that could all be because of how physically and mentally prepared they are. Like if you look at F1 or at IndyCar, you don't have a fat IndyCar driver. You don't have a fat, out-of-shape F1 driver.
No.
Especially if it's a sport where you're making so many changes to the car to try and get to do one thing a little bit better. You're looking for maybe half a tenth of lap time, like half a tenth of a second matters.
Wow.
Like why, if you're at everyone at the top level, like they're looking not just at the car, but also at themselves. Like, what's my weakness? How do I make myself perform better? Do I need to be stronger? Do I need to be mentally sharper? You're constantly searching for that little bit more wherever it is.
That edge, that's what competition is. That's what gives you that edge over all your other opponents and enables you to win. I didn't know there was that much physical strain on your body too. I knew that it was like mentally exhausting, but now thinking about it, I'm like, oh duh. Like if you're going at high speeds and constantly turning and you want to stay, that just makes sense. And man, you got to train for that too. That's you can't just hop in one of those and hope for the best.
No, not really. But to be fair to some people, I feel like the misconception that it's not physical is fairly easy to have because relatively speaking, not as many people have an opportunity to do that. Mm-hmm. Like basketball, very clearly basketball, football, tennis, whatever, very clearly physical sports. And almost everyone will know that because if they want to know how physical it is, they can go out and they can play it. Mm-hmm. And then you start to feel it's like, okay, you do this kind of movement. I need a little more strength in my quad. Or, okay, I need my shoulders to be a little more precise. Whereas in racing, you don't really have that opportunity.
That's true. It's not as, like kind of you mentioned earlier, it's really only for families that they are like racing families or people with wealthy parents. So how would you say then we can maybe help people that may be interested in this, like break into, I guess, this, so then maybe it's easier for them to try it out?
Yeah. I mean, I don't come from a motorsports family, nor have like huge amounts of money like some people do, but that doesn't make it impossible. Like if you want it bad enough, there's always a way in. And I started out karting and outdoor karts, which are honestly one of the most physical forms of motorsport. Not like rental karts, but like race karts. Mm-hmm. They're pretty quick. You're going 70 miles an hour and the bottom of the seat is maybe an inch or two off the ground.
That's crazy.
And people can start in those. Like that's where I started. I didn't own a lot of the gear, so half the gear, like my suit, my gloves, and my shoes, I borrowed from the team's rental equipment trailer. But yeah, you can start out in those. I know in New Jersey where I live, there's a regional state-ish level series that's starting up again this year. And almost a lot of places in the U.S. will have an opportunity for something like that. Even if you have to drive a couple hours, like you will have an opportunity to do that.
There you go. That's awesome. I think that's cool that there's so many opportunities to do it. And I think just to your point earlier, there's just most people aren't aware that that's even there. And man, that's because I'll admit I do like going fast too, but that's just in a regular old car, right? That's one of the things on my bucket list is to I don't even want to fly it. I just want to be in a fighter jet and then just have someone. I want to see what that feels like, because from what I've heard is your whole idea of fast is changed when you get in one of those bad boys.
Oh, I believe it. That's honestly on a bucket list of mine as well, because it just seems like such a cool experience.
Yeah. I had a teacher in school. I mean, this is what kind of interested me in it. He told me that when he was way younger, he's older now, but he had this opportunity to, go in a fighter jet. It's like, yeah, they said they'd take me out, and he was on an aircraft carrier, and before they could do all the tricks and stuff, like the pilot says, "All right, bud, hold on." And he's like, "What? Like, it can't be that bad." But I mean, you'd imagine off an aircraft carrier, there's not that
Oh
much
yeah,
room. And all of a sudden, you just hear the thrust, and then bam, and then he's just like, "Yeah, I tried to lift my hand, couldn't do it." It was just so freaking fast. And
oh yeah.
he said they were gonna do like tricks and stuff, but the day was 9/11, so they were needed elsewhere.
Ah,
Yeah.
that is a crazy story.
Yeah, you're in Jersey. What was that like?
I mean, I wasn't alive at the time,
That's true.
but
That's right. You're the same age as me. I wasn't alive either.
but my parents lived in the same house they were in now, and I'm like 30 minutes west of New York City, and right up the road from our house, because we kind of live on the side of a mountain, is this big outlook that's now a 9/11 memorial, because you can see the city from the top of the mountain. Wow. And they could see the towers from there, like clear as day.
That's terrifying, man. Yeah. Well, yeah, sorry I asked that, man. I realized I was like, man, you weren't alive. Yeah. That's crazy. I actually interviewed a lady where she talked about that, and that she started talking about the things, and I was like, yeah, I wasn't alive. It's not really taught in school. So how do you manage then? Because I mean, you're traveling all the time. I would imagine.
Yeah.
How do you kind of manage your time?
I mean, when you travel a lot and with racing, you kind of get used to it and it becomes more natural. But mainly just having a schedule. Like I have a notepad. I write the times of everything I need to do down, and I try to stay consistent day in, day out. And like, all right, 2 hours of training, or like a 2 hour weight training session in the evening, on a simulator in the morning for an hour or two. Got a call at 11, call at 12. Lunch, emails, dinner. Yeah.
All that fun stuff. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, racing's such a glamorous sport. It's like, not always.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that most people don't see with anything, right? They always see the success part and like, yeah, I want that. But then they realize in order to actually get that, you need to put in a lot of back end work. And that's when most people start quitting, is when they're like, oh, this is actually hard.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. That's crazy. So is there something then that, besides like the necessities that you try to do every day, like a habit that, even though through all the travel and all that, is there something that you're pretty consistent with, like a habit?
Yeah, I'd say like what I do in the morning and what I do when I go to bed is the same every time.
That's good.
Wake up. Obviously, it can depend. Like sometimes on race weekends, or test days, you're up as early as like 5:30. Most days during the week, I'm up at 7:30. Have breakfast, which is normally like one of a few things. Normal, brush teeth, wash face, then start the day at 8. Go to bed. I always take a shower before I go to bed. That's just been a routine. No matter what, I always have to shower before I go to bed.
That's awesome.
And just helps me sleep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, same evening routine. And try and train. Get in the gym for a weight training session like 4 to 6 days a week to be consistent with that.
There you go. So you've structured at least your workout routine too, and that's good. A lot of people kind of just wander aimlessly and just like, oh yeah. I mean, I definitely do that too. It's like, oh, let's do this workout today, but you have like a set schedule. That's something I think in order to be successful, you need to have that discipline to make things happen, and you need to stick with it long enough to actually see results. That's something I've noticed too. You're going to suck at it in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
But then if you stick with it long enough, eventually you're going to develop a high level skill. And that's ultimately we want to, I mean, that's I guess what you could say, the glory that we're all chasing. It's
oh yeah.
But it takes time in order to sustain it. I guess it's the right thing to say.
Yeah. But sorry to cut you off. Just wanted to touch on like the thing with, something you're not good at first. Like, I mean, I guess fortunately I was good at racing like pretty early on, but when I did jiu-jitsu and like when I started weight training, it was awful at the start. Like jiu-jitsu I sucked at. And like the first year of it, I was like, this isn't fun. Why do you do this? I just show up to class and lose every day. And then I'm like, well, it was mainly my parents actually. They're like, well, not everyone's good at everything at first. Like 99% of the things you do, you're not going to be good at right off the bat. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. I still hated it for the first half of the second year, but once I started getting more competent, like you see the other side of the hill, like, oh yeah, that's the motivation to keep going.
There you go.
Then with, training in the gym at the start, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just kind of wandering around like, I think that would work. What about that one? And I feel like maybe most people do that as well. And I had no idea what I was doing. Probably wasn't eating the best either to support it.
Mm-hmm.
But very fortunately, last year, I got into contact with this motorsports specific, I guess you'd call him like a physical performance expert. So he's been helping me out a lot, runs performance physics, and that's been pretty helpful for me.
That's cool. That's really cool. I mean, that's something I actually kind of realized too, is actually having the courage to ask for help type of thing from someone that's way better at it than you. Because, you want to come in and say, no, I got this. Like, you just got to power through. And don't get me wrong. Sometimes that just works. It'll work. But you learn a lot slower when you do that.
Yeah.
But when you actually take the time to go and say, hey, man, I'm an idiot. I need some help. And that most of the time, most people are pretty receptive to that. They have no problem. Like, oh, yeah, sure. And in some cases, it's their job. It's like, oh, yeah, I've been doing this for 10, 20 plus years. I got you type of thing. And then usually there's some type of exchange there. But it's great. And, I mean, that's how you make a successful society. So, hate to wrap up. This has been great. But I'm gonna ask the intelligent question of the day. And that's, so you kind of talked about how when you start seeing over that hill, like, hey, I can actually be pretty good at that. I think there's a point, though, where there's a lot of despair type of thing where it's like, am I actually good at this? Should I keep going? Like, and you're kind of stuck in this limbo of like, should I just keep going forward, or should I pivot and try something else because this isn't going to work? What would be your advice to those just kind of in that situation right now?
Yeah, like I've had race weekends where it's like nothing has gone right, or it's been like really promising and then just like kind of hopes dashed on the floor. And no matter what sport or any pursuit in life that you have, you're going to have times like that, I've learned. And definitely in the moment, it's like, am I really good at this? Like, am I good enough? Like, have I done enough? Am I lazy? Is that why this isn't working? And, sometimes on a day where like you really don't feel like it, you have the discipline to just kind of like, you know what? I don't want to do it, but I have to do it. So you go anyway. But in those moments, you kind of, where it's just like you start really questioning yourself and if this is something you want to do, try and go back to I'd call it going back to your center, like why you love it in the first place and why you're there in the first place, and what like the you from a couple days ago or a couple days in the future will be like.
There you go. I love that. And that's the intelligent answer of the day. So, Andre, thank you. Thank you for coming on today. I appreciate you taking the time. But if people want to reach out to you, follow you in racing, or, watch some of your races, what's the best way they can reach out to you, find you, all that fun stuff?
I'd say I'm most active on Instagram. You just look up Andre Lafond Racing and I should be there. Facebook, I'm a little less active on, but I'm still there. And I'm also fairly active on LinkedIn if you want to reach out through there. And I also have a website.
Awesome. Sweet. So for the listeners there, they can find Andre there. So Andre, thank you for coming on today. I appreciate you taking the time.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Josh.
So everyone, as you can tell, that is Andre Lafond. He's a very intelligent person, has great things to share. I challenge you guys, if anything sparked your interest today, to reach out to Andre. I'm sure he'd be happy to chat with you. Stay tuned till next week. We have a great guest lined up for you guys. See you guys next week, and let's get after it. Hey everyone, if you liked this episode and would like to hear more, be sure to hit that subscribe or follow button. We release a new episode every Wednesday for you guys to listen to. Thank you guys so much for the support that you give. We could not have done this without you guys. If you would like to be a potential guest on the show, check out intelligentconvos.com and fill out the form there. Thank you guys again, and let's get after it.